It has been so hot for the last few days, and we got fans going, we've got the air conditioner going. I've had to clean this thing very, very well because the humidity and the dust plugs up the fins, so we just did a deep cleaning. But I just didn't want to risk the health of our puppies, so we put in a second one. So we've doubled our air conditioning power in the kennel. One there, and one there. So it's going to make these guys a lot more comfortable. And it's going to make the puppies a lot more comfortable. But yes, we have been fighting the heat and the humidity for the last number of days, so it's a big relief to get this done. Big time. Anyway, well, it's about 20 after 8, Tuesday night, July something. I think it's around 16, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Okay, 18th or 19th. I haven't kept track of the date. I'm on holidays this week, so. But as you can see, the sun has gone down to the point where we're getting some shade and it's cooling off, but it has been hot. Yesterday was 35 degrees Celsius with 1,000,000% humidity. It was just almost unbearable. And so over in our kennel, we were having trouble. The one air conditioning unit that you see on this end was not keeping up. Partly because it's just not big enough to compete with that kind of heat, and partly because it needed a good cleaning. So I went and got a second one. I just installed it today. And now we got the temperature down to a very comfortable place in here. And we've spent a lot of time in the kennel today because we've been doing puppy picking video chats with folks. You would think I hadn't already been in here for 4 hours today. Good there. Good girl. Good girl. They've had a ton of attention today. It's just how Goldens and Poodles are. It's never enough. But we got the one air conditioning going there and the other one going here, and it's now a very comfortable temperature in here. And it's been a little while since I've posted, but look at the size of Millie's puppies. This is what 2 weeks on solid food looks like. Now I'm going to switch over to Sandy's puppies. Now keep in mind, they're 8 days younger and have only just switched to solid food in the last few days. So look at the size of these guys compared to these ones. It's like 30% smaller. As soon as you switch them onto solid food, they start growing like weeds. Now these puppies have been handled a lot today with all the video chats and handling, so they're very tired. So I'm not going to wake them up to show collar colors, but this one here is gray. I think that one's black. There's a blue one there. That one's red. These are Millie's puppies. We can see some more collars here because they're not quite as fluffy. So there's light blue or turquoise. There's yellow, orange, red. The pink one is right up against the side here, laying next to dark blue. There's black collar, fuchsia collar, and white collar there. White collar is just a little guy. Anyway, they are all doing amazing. Yeah, they're doing good. So, not a super exciting video, but you can really see the colors now, these ones, and they're starting to show their personalities. These guys are so fluffy, and a lot of you, we've spoken and done video chats just in the last couple of days, so you've gotten to know your puppy a little bit more. But you can see that we've now transitioned them from newspaper to wood chips. It's way cleaner, way less stink. Whenever they make a mess, we just throw a handful on top, and then every so often we just clean it all out and put fresh stuff down. And all these little dark spots in here, that's not poop, that's kibbles. They're very messy eaters, but that's okay. These guys, we actually don't have them on dry food yet. What we're doing is we're taking their food, and as you can see here, we soak it, and it gets really mushy. So it's still a bit firm. So we're gonna soak that a little bit longer, and then we put it in there. So that's why you don't see dry kibbles all over the shavings in here, because it's all mushy. So this is when we're gonna start seeing these guys packing on the pounds, and they love it. I should make a video. I should have made a video. It's just been too busy. Of the moment they first see and smell real dog food, because they instantly know what to do. There's no training them to eat dog food. They just eat it, no question. It's really cool to see how automatic that is. Oh, there's little green collar, dark green collar. They're tuckered out. The heat's been hard on them. I only just got that air conditioner installed here this evening, and now it's a very comfortable 24 degrees in here, or 23. It was up to 31. So very, very thankful to have that second one. Here's my wife mopping the floor, which happens regularly as well. And here I am walking on it, so I'll probably get in trouble later. I'll have to say that quietly, if I can at least see myself. But right now, we're in the process of booking flights, and we've got the vet appointments booked as well. So that's coming up. It looks like the week of August, I've lost track now, 10th and 15th. Yeah, the puppy should be flying. And but there's been something on my mind for a little bit that I wanted to talk about. This is Beatrice. We'll talk about Beatrice a little bit. Beatrice, I call her a big dust bunny. She's just a little puffball. And come here, Beatrice. Beatrice is literally a little ball of fluff. There's just nothing to her. She's just a tiny little ball of fluff, and she loves everybody. She's super friendly. And the story with Beatrice is we've only had her for about 3 weeks now. We had, if you've watched any of our older videos, you would have seen our little terrier named Flora. She was in a lot of our videos, and she liked to do things like ride on the handlebars of the quad, ride on top of the kayak when the kids were kayaking. She loved to climb trees. She was afraid of nothing. And she was quite a character. We always said she kind of like fancied herself like royalty. She liked to be high up on things. So she liked to be up on top of a tree at face level. She liked to be, if she could, she'd ride on the dash of the vehicle if you didn't watch out. She loved to ride quads. She loved to ride in my tractor with me. She loved to ride on the lawnmower. She wasn't afraid of anything. She loved going for rides. And she was a real fixture in our family for a long time. And this spring, I guess she must have gotten a deer tick and wound up with Lyme's disease. We didn't know it was Lyme's disease at first. We noticed that she wasn't walking very well. She was very lethargic, very tired. And when we finally started saying, like, this is really abnormal behavior for her, she'd been showing some of these symptoms for a couple of weeks. Now, maybe it sounds like, well, you guys really should have done something sooner. Dogs go through stuff every so often. It's not always like. The other thing is, Flora was getting older. She was pushing 10 years old, which isn't super old for a terrier, but it's not young either. And so we just kind of thought maybe she was slowing down a bit. Long story short, we took her to the vet. Sure enough, they diagnosed her with Lyme's disease. But she'd gone the better part of a week without eating or drinking very much. We had tried, and we took her to the vet. He said, take her home. Here's some antibiotics. But she couldn't keep them down. Took her back to the vet. He kept her on fluids overnight to get her hydrated. And by the next day, she had perked up quite a bit. It was a Saturday. I remember that. I went and picked her up, and she had perked up a lot. You know, he had put the IV in her, got her hydrated, got her some nutrition. But he told us it's probably not going to last. There's been some permanent kidney damage, and he also suspected her of having Addison's disease, and I don't quite understand everything that goes with that. But basically, he said, if she recovers enough to kind of survive the kidney issues, she's going to have diminished kidney capacity. And if she has Addison's, which he was 85% sure she did, she would require a steroid shot every day for the rest of her life, which might be 3 months or it might be 3 years. Not a great quality of life, not great prospects, and we were just kind of digesting all this information. We'd only had her back from the vet for 2 days, so we brought her home that Saturday. She kind of perked up. Saturday and Sunday were looking pretty good. By Monday, she was starting to fail again, and Tuesday, she did something she's never ever done before. She disappeared. She's never done that in 10 years. Usually what she would do is she would be out here in the front yard, or somewhere around the front deck, or she might go down the driveway that way a little ways, or down here if she saw a rabbit or a cat or something. She never went far. Tuesday she disappeared. So just 3 days after bringing her home from the vet. And we've never seen her again. So she went off somewhere to die. Animals do that. Now, if you've been following my YouTube channel for a while, you know that we live in the middle of 80 acres of bush, bordering on hundreds and hundreds of acres of more bush down to the river. Our dog spent a great deal of time outside. Maybe somebody says, well, you should have kept an eye on her. Well, hindsight's 20/20, but animals do this sometimes. And we never saw her again. Before that happened, I mean, I've had dogs my entire life. I knew it was coming. I knew she wasn't going to last. My wife and I had already been talking about getting a puppy to help us through the grieving period. But when she perked up on Saturday, we had our eye on a puppy at that time before we took her to the vet. We took her to the vet on that Friday, brought her home Saturday. She was perking up. So I let the puppy thing slide for a couple of days, and then Flora was gone. And it was devastating for the kids. It was hard for all of us. Flora was quite a character. We have a lot of dogs, but she was the only one that lived inside with us 24/7. She traveled with us many places we went. We have pictures of her up at Clear Lake riding. We would rent this 6-seater bicycle so the whole family could fit, and there she would be sitting in the basket, riding in the front of the bicycle. We have so many memories with her, and she's gone. And the grieving was pretty hard. And so we decided to get a little puppy to help get us through the grieving. Now, there's no replacing a dog. Anybody that's ever lost a dog, you know, you cannot replace a dog. You don't replace a dog. You have to say goodbye, and you might get a new dog, but you don't replace a dog because there's no, that sounds like a transaction. It doesn't work that way. However, this is where Beatrice enters the picture. I found a very sweet lady here in Manitoba. Her name is Karen. Karen raises a bunch of little dogs, a few different varieties. And Beatrice here has a Maltese mama and a Yorkie dad. So she is a Morkie, a Maltese Yorkie. I have a different term for her. I call her a Maltashire. She's a Maltashire, or a Malteser. So I brought her home. My son and I went to pick, and she had 4 puppies. And there was 2 that were this color, a male and a female, and there was 2 that were white or peach. Both of them were female. And I couldn't decide between the 2 of this color, male and female. And Lowen, my son, picked her, but I couldn't leave the little boy behind. So we took him too. Now, I had an ulterior motive. My in-laws lost their dog a few years back and had thought for a long time about getting another one, but couldn't quite pull the trigger. Part of it was they hadn't had a puppy in 15 years. Part of it was the commitment. There's a few different things going on. But I knew my mother-in-law wanted a puppy. So here's the deal I made with myself. I'm going to take both the male and the female, and I'm going to try to convince my mother-in-law to take the male, and we'll keep the female. And if she doesn't take the male, I'm going to somehow try to convince my wife that we're getting 2 puppies instead of 1. Well, long story short, my mother-in-law took her about 24 hours to make up her mind, and she took the little boy. Well, if you go straight north, that way, 3 miles, that's where my in-laws live, just up the road from us. What's really cool about that, this is Beatrice, little Beatrice here, and her little brother Charles, or Charlie, get to have play dates all the time. It's a couple times a week. And the cool thing is, there's been a bunch of good things that have come out of it. Even though my in-laws live just up the road a few miles, we actually don't see them that often, or we weren't seeing them that often. But now that we have sibling puppies, we're seeing them a couple times a week, which is fantastic. The dogs play together, and it's mostly my wife gets to catch up with her mom more often. So that's one thing that's bringing us together. But this little bundle of, I don't know, fluff and joy has done amazing things to carry the family through the grieving process with Flora, and it's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. All of the kids instantly fell in love with little Beatrice, and so did my wife. My wife takes this little thing everywhere. Jumps in the Yukon, the pup's going along, grocery shopping, and you know what? She gets away with it because the puppy's so stinking cute. She gets away with it. She went to the mall the other day. She's in Winners, and she's in, all the outlet stores, and far from anybody giving her a hard time for taking a dog in the store. They call everybody over to come and play with the dog. She goes to the grocery store. They don't say anything. She just pops little Beatrice in the shopping cart. And when she was really young, little Beatrice was really young, she would just poke her head out of my wife's bag. She's got kind of a fabric purse that she sewed in. Beatrice would just ride along in the bag. But as she's grown up a little bit, she is not patient enough to stay in the bag. She wants to see what's going on. So she sits in the shopping cart on a blanket. This little dog goes everywhere with my wife. She still piddles a lot. We've only had her for 3 weeks. She's only about 12 weeks old. But she's learning. She's brought so much joy to the family. She's really helped us through this grieving process. I can't even really begin to describe how hard those first couple of days were after losing Flora, and how much peace and joy this little dog has brought us. Look at her now. Like, she's just, all of a sudden, she's got the, I don't know what you call it, the hyper mode. Why am I going on and on about Beatrice and losing a dog and grieving? This is supposed to be a happy video, right? A PUPdate video. Well, like I said, this has been on my mind for a while. As you can imagine, a lot of our puppy buyers have lost dogs. Dogs don't live as long as people do. 10, 12, 15 years, depending on the dog. Clock starts ticking. And a lot of people start contacting us about puppies when their dogs are 10, 12 years old, because they know, even when their dog is healthy, it's not going to be around forever. And they're preparing for it. Some people contact me the very moment they lose their dog. They can't imagine life without one. They know they can't replace it. It's not replacing, but it's a new member of the family. And some people, after losing a dog, it takes them a long time, 2-3 years sometimes, before they're ready for another one. I just had someone contact me about a puppy this go around. They had lost their dog 3.5 years ago, and then they changed their mind. They said they still weren't quite ready. They were still grieving. Here's the point I'm trying to make. Do it quickly. Do it before you lose your dog. Or if it happens suddenly, which happens sometimes, do it quickly. Do it immediately. The longer you wait, there's a number of things that come into play. Number one, some people feel disloyal at the thought of replacing their dog. So the longer they wait, the harder it becomes, and there's this guilt complex. They feel like they're not being loyal to the memory of their beloved dog. Anyway, sorry, my wife just interrupted. There's a variety of reasons why people wait, but I'll tell you, this little Beatrice, this tiny little fluff ball that weighs 3.5 pounds, for a tiny little dog without a whole lot of real strength in this world, has carried us through a very difficult time. And my advice to anybody whose dog is getting older, who is having health problems, or perhaps you've just lost your dog. If you're like us, you can't imagine living without dogs. We've always had dogs. Get a puppy immediately. It might sound like the wrong move. It might sound disloyal. It might sound knee-jerk. I promise you will not regret it. I promise you. The busyness of having a puppy and potty training, all that, is going to take your mind off of some of the pain. And you will bond. And trust me, you will not for 1 second feel disloyal. Those thoughts and feelings of being disloyal only happen before the puppy comes. After you get the puppy, there will be no concern about disloyalty because you'll know you're not replacing a dog. That's not what you're doing. And what you're doing is you're doing yourself a favor and you're doing your family a favor. That's my advice. Those are my thoughts on losing a dog and grieving. I might not make this all part of a PUPdate video. I haven't decided yet how I'm going to edit this one because these are kind of my deep thoughts. But take it for what it's worth. I strongly suggest doing it that way. So thanks for listening. It's a long video. I am not the least bit offended if someone checks out before they get to this point. But maybe there's 1 or 2 people that have been struggling through these kinds of thoughts, feeling disloyal or guilty at the thought of getting a new puppy. Maybe their dog is sick. And I'll tell you something right now, okay? This might sound harsh. The thought of Flora being on daily steroids, first of all, that's not a quality of life for a dog. But secondly, the cost. We can't afford that. Who can? And hats off to those who can afford to do stuff like that. I had a neighbor years ago who did 2 hip replacements on their pit bull. They spent, I think, $8,000 on surgeries for their dog. We can't afford that. You have to know when the end is coming. It's a tough call. And you know what? We were spared it with Flora. She made that decision for us. But I'll tell you what, it's not something that's easy to do. But I've had multiple friends in the last couple of years. The end was near for their dog. They knew it. And they had to make that decision. And it's a hard one. It's a hard one. So there's no judgment for anybody that's hanging on and spending the money. No judgment. for those that just say, you know what, the end is coming. All we're doing is delaying the inevitable, and there's no quality of life. And you make a decision to do what you got to do. No judgment there either. So, thanks for watching. As you can tell, we care a lot about our dogs, and I care a lot about my family. Far more about my family than about the dogs. But the dogs have been a seamless part of our world for as long as I've been alive. So this is just part of the whole ball of wax. Right, Beatrice? All right. Good night, folks. Love you all. Have a great evening.